We say a very good morning. Top man, Dan Hodges, Mail on Sunday, whose latest column was fantastic. It was entitled, "Reeves will be lucky if the only punishment for this shameful deceit is the loss of her job." Morning, Dan. Interestingly, of course, Nigel, who's on in a bit, Nigel Farage, he wants to report her to the sleaze watchdog in terms of ethics advisor in the House of Commons, which could be her basically misleading Parliament. The Tories have gone further this morning. They've written to the FCA, the Financial Authority, and said if this was a private company, this person would be prosecuted. Where do you think she stands? Because old Starmer's coming out in a minute to support her, mate.
Well, she stands on quicksand at the moment. I mean, she is in very, very serious trouble for the reasons that you've just outlined. I mean, firstly, we now know categorically, and we can all see, she lied through her teeth to the British people on multiple occasions, from the general election campaign when she consistently said she wouldn't raise taxes on working people, from the budget a year ago when she said if she had extended the freeze on tax thresholds, that would be a tax on working people, and that's why she hadn't done it. She's obviously now has gone and done it. We had obviously the statement she said after the budget last year to the CBI when she pledged categorically. She said, "Let me be clear, public services have to live within their means. I'm not coming back for more taxes, more borrowing." She has come back for more tax and more borrowing. But as you just touched on there with the Tories, she's not just lied to the British people, and also, as we see in the papers this morning, lied to members of her own cabinet.
Yeah.
She's also lied to the financial markets, and that is a very, very serious issue, because what she did in the weeks in the run-up to the budget, in terms of her speeches and the briefings that were given by her aides on her behalf, firstly, as we now know, they were untruthful. But the second thing is they directly influenced the markets. They directly manipulated the markets and were quite clearly intended to manipulate the markets. And very, very sensitive, at that time, confidential financial information was leaked. And that is a very, very serious issue. So this isn't just about the politics, although Rachel Reeves is obviously in very, very serious trouble on the politics. There is a very serious issue that needs to be looked at to how the British Chancellor manipulated the financial markets for her own political ends.
And it's interesting as well, I just off the top of my head, but Christian, so when the election campaign was on, they made a real humdinger of a fuss about this £22 billion black hole. Sunak, that clip that's come out, and I wasn't a fan of his over the weekend, said it'll cost every household or person an extra £2,000. It's all about tax rises. He was proven spot on. One wonders when the lies started. Was there ever a black hole? I've no idea, but all I do know from history, and you'd agree with me on this, Dan, is the Labour Party is synonymous, and always has been when it's in power, with spending more than it brings in, because they're going to promise to all sorts of people, usually their union mates, and the country ends up skint. And that's not me condoning anything that the Tories did, because there was so much in the end about the Tories that they had to be voted out. But we were not where we are financially and in terms of just how we stood 15 months ago. They made an absolute hash of the economy. This great growth for working people, that turned out to be a lie as well, didn't it?
Well, I mean, you asked when it started, and let me just say from the beginning, let's not completely rewrite history. Let's not pretend that Britain was a land of milk and honey.
No, it wasn't.
Until the day Labour walked through the front door of the Treasury. The Tories did leave the economy in a mess. But let's just remember what we were told. We were told by Rachel Reeves initially in the election campaign. She was fully aware of what the Tories had been doing. But her programme was fully costed. She had a fully costed manifesto. She then got in and said, "Oh, shock horror, I found this 20 billion black hole." Fine. But we had a budget last year in which Rachel Reeves specifically said, as a result of this budget, huge tax-raising budget, I have now filled the black hole. Yeah. She literally said, I have stabilised the economy, and said I won't need to be coming back for more tax rises. Remember as well, we then had the situation where she did the U-turn on the winter fuel allowance, and the U-turn on the benefit cuts. At which point she stood up, and we all saw her said it. It's there. People can look at her, read her statements, look at the news clips. She stood up and said, "I'm able to reverse the winter fuel cut. I'm able to move away from the benefits cut because I have now stabilised the economy." Then suddenly, when we came into the run-up to the budget, we literally had from her an emergency press conference in which she said, "Oh no, I haven't stabilised the economy. Actually, there's a black hole after all."
But this is my point. There is no part of me, by the way, that would ever say that at the end of the Tories it was milk and honey. I think financially we weren't in the position in terms of where we are now, but they were shot. They were done. So many people, Dan, listened to this is going to be country before party. This is going to be grown-up politics, and we got through the suits and the glasses and Lord Alley. The very point of this is one looks at her and her incompetence and him who can't seem to turn whichever way and get anything right. And you wonder whether it was fully costed. I mean, they had that plan for 100 days and the woman that put that together, Sue Gray, was gone on day 93. I think they hoodwinked the British people. I'm being serious. That's my opinion.
It obviously wasn't fully costed. But I mean, look, you and I have seen, have been observing. I've been commenting on politics for decades. There is a basic playbook that any government, be it Labour or Tory, always adopts. They go into the election campaign, they set out their manifesto, they then come in and they say, "Oh my God, we've opened the books, and it's the other lot have left us in a much worse state than we thought." That is basic politics, and that's kind of almost expected now. And I think actually, when the British people vote, they expect it. But what is different here is what governments do. They then come in and say, "We've come in. We're cleaning up the government, the other lot's mess. It's going to take time. There are going to be some hard choices. Yada yada yada." Right? What Rachel Reeves did, she came in. She said, "I've opened the books. I've identified the black hole." But then she spent the first half of this year telling everyone, "I've filled it. I've filled the black hole. I've stabilised the economy. Growth is back on the right track." She literally said that was why she could reverse the winter fuel cuts and she could reverse the benefit cuts. Then she suddenly turned around and said, "Oh no, actually there is another black hole." As we now know, there wasn't a black hole at all.
Do you think she's out of her depth, Dan? Do you think she's out of her depth?
Completely out of her depth. Everyone knows she's out of her depth. And this is the issue now for Keir Starmer and for the Labour Party. Everyone in the country can see Rachel Reeves is not up to the job. But the question is now, is Starmer not just going to sacrifice the economic well-being of Britain, but also his and his own party's political future to keep in post and circle the wagons around someone who is clearly incapable of doing the job she's been given?
That's his judgment for you. And quickly before I let you go, you're amazing. We love having you on. Talking about his judgment, I mean, you couldn't make this up. This was after your column, but I've no doubt you would have written it in the Mail on Sunday. This morning, please, this is the best story of the day. The former anti-corruption minister, Tulip Siddiq, overnight has been sentenced to 2 years prison in Bangladesh for corruption. You talk about judgment, you talk about Rachel Reeves, that woman who went to transport, she'd stole a mobile phone, he knew all about that. You have to question Keir Starmer's judgment in so much. Tulip Siddiq, neighbouring MP. Here's the best thing that somebody said earlier. I love your take on this. He's about human rights and the laws and stuff. He should respect Bangladesh's laws and have a assent there, shouldn't he?
Well, I think there's two sides to this. One is, there are question marks about whether the prosecution was political. We have to be completely open about this. There's all sorts of internal Bangladeshi politics going on here, which I think is feeding into this. But going into your original point, however, when Tulip Siddiq was appointed, Keir Starmer was well aware of these issues.
Yeah,
Keir Starmer knew these issues, and so as you say, to appoint her to that position. Again, it's the same as with Rachel Reeves. To appoint her to that position does absolutely raises serious questions about about his political judgment.
Very quickly before you go, does she stay or does she go, in your opinion, Dan?
Rachel Reeves.
Yeah.
Oh, she's definitely going to go, but then so is Keir Starmer. But I do think there is going to have to be an investigation into what transpired into the run up to the budget, and that I think is going to be potentially very, very dangerous for Rachel Reeves.
Really great to have you on, my friend. Dan Hodges, Mail on Sunday. Great to have you on the show. See you next week. Very much hope so. 9:22. We're live across the UK.